Hello and welcome back to World of Racing for the first round of a new era here at WRO. It's the Pro Series, and we are so excited to launch this brand new era, the best of the best from all four of our centers going head to head here for the first time. My name is Jackson Lambros. I'm alongside, as always, Sagar Bakshi. And Sagar, it's four of the best drivers from each of our centers. It's the 20 best drivers from each of the four centers. We don't know what we're getting our hands into until pretty much briefing. It's been very, very interesting to see the preparation towards our first round, but the anticipation, the excitement is very tangible.
Absolutely certain. It is palpable. You can feel the tension in the air with real world dollars on the line for these drivers and fastest lap points being handed out in the form of 50 buckaroos. That is something to definitely not only brag about, but take home to your wife, your girlfriend, your children, and say, this is what I do in my free time. And that's very, very cool for a program like World of Racing to be able to put on. We're at a very iconic track, Jackson Lambros, and a very familiar car with an unfamiliar name.
We'll take a look at that really quickly, but just reminding you folks at home and center side how this works. We'll do a week of pre-qualifying every single week. They've had 7 days to pre-qualify with a time attack running a different car track combo, but the four fastest drivers from each of the four centers here are two in California, one in Phoenix, and one in Kansas City get qualified. After that, we have a handful of wild card slots as well. But every single week, we'll be giving out prizes, $350 to first, $250 to second, and $150 to P3. Everyone in the podium gets a cash prize. As Sagar mentioned, another 50 doubloons if you are the fastest man on track come the end. Ultimate goal here to earn 600 points and race in our grand finale at our center in Tustin with over 5,000 points given out, with 2,500 going to our championship. And it has been very, very close. We'll get to that pre-qualifying story in just a little bit. Let's jump trackside, though, as we get set for qualifying.
In just a few moments, we will go trackside. We're still waiting for the drivers finish up their briefing and get loaded in. Let's talk a little bit about the track, Jackson. We are at a track car combo that I think most drivers should be familiar with. We're driving a GT car around a very iconic track, Estoril. Track length of 2.599 miles or 4.1 kilometers. Founded in 1972, officially inaugurated though in 1974 with 13 corners, 9 to the right and 4 to the left with 131 feet of elevation change. We're headed to Lisbon, Portugal, folks.
Has hosted a plethora of different events. The Portuguese Grand Prix from 1984 to 96, most notably known for its two-wheeled racing, hosting the World Superbike Championship, the Sidecar World Championship, FIM's Junior Grand Prix, as well as Porsche Cup. But tonight it will be host to 20-something of the Ford Mustang GT3. Going to be a very interesting track car combo because we've seen a lot of world-class. We've seen this Mustang tackle a lot of interesting circuits. I don't think a motorcycle first track quite like Estoril is somewhere we've even considered. And I think that's probably what the mental approach has been for our racers. Again, it's a brand new kind of approach, and we don't know the track car combo going into every single weekend, right? So you have that level of mystery going into each weekend, and I think this has caught a lot of people by surprise in the best way.
Absolutely. And we are ready for the qualifying session. The drivers are just taking to their out laps right now. Jackson, shall we head trackside?
We shall. Let's do it.
Let's do
First
it.
round of qualifying here for round one of the Pro Series, as we are just a stone's throw away from Lisbon. And it is Aaron. And you can already see how packed up everybody is right now, eager to get out on track for their maiden laps, getting some heat there into the rubber. But again, it is a single make, single model grid, and we are all running the Ford Mustang. I believe the official name would be Mustang Dark Horse GTD here.
That's very true, Jackson. This would be the Mustang Dark Horse, wouldn't it? Running around an iconic track such as Estoril. And we've got some car track information for you. Of course, this car is a mod of the Race Sim Studios GTM Phase 2 pack with 516 brake horsepower, 576 newton meters of torque, weight of 1405 kilogram, including the driver, power weight ratio being 2.72 kilograms per horsepower. That is crazy, and a top speed of 270 kilometers per hour in dry conditions.
One of the newest cars on the GT3 scene, making its second year of appearances here. Your defending Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona champion, phenomenal top 5 at Le Mans, just had its debut this past year in DTM, as well as the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, as Aaron is rampant over that curbing on the inside, working through turn number 3. And again, you look at what the beauty of GT3 is, the ability for you to run essentially a plethora of different cars thanks to balance of performance, whether it's your low-slung exotics like your Ferrari 296s or your Lamborghini Huracans or Tamarios. You get something very, very unique here with this American muscle, but it has been almost designed with this in mind. The GTD, of course, coming out as a homologation model, essentially, a Porsche 911 Challenger around the Nürburgring. And we get to see the true ultimate purebred race car version of it right here on track.
Absolutely, for sure. The drivers just completing their out laps, getting some bankers in: Spencer, Michael, Chris, Andreas, Timothy, Ali, Aaron, Cody, Clay T, James, Ryan, Kian, Andrew, Chan, Young, Nico, Jacob, and Christopher being the drivers that we can see right now. But I believe we have more than just the 18 that we can see. I believe we should be up to 20, as Jackson hinted at earlier on in the evening. So a few more drivers yet to make it to the grid, but we've got 13 minutes and 26 seconds remaining in this qualifying, and it looks like Spencer bests Aaron there by 67 thousandths of a second. 134.056 being the time to beat. Clay T jumps up into 6th position with a 137.177.
Talking to Jensen Altsman and Robert McGinnis today, two of the drivers who have had the honor to drive this in real life, driving the number 66 Gradient Racing Machine in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. And really, really great insight here from Jensen Altsman, talking about, yes, it's BOP'd out and the balance of the car itself isn't necessarily great, being one of the newer cars on the grid. But we talk about that raw horsepower that Sagar mentioned to you guys earlier on, 500 and change. And even with BOP considered, that is one of the most powerful we've got in the GT3 field today. And I asked him straight up, like, how do you recover from that? And he was like, park it on the apex, not give him another opportunity to really overtake, and just not keep that door shut and just take off. Because even with BOP doing its thing, this Coyote V8 has unmatched torque and power.
Absolutely enough torque to tenderize an elephant, as Mike Noss would say. And these things are awfully powerful, and boy, do they sound fantastic. The RSS team has actually recorded the Mustang Dark Horse in real life to get the sound just right and dialed in. Aaron, Ryan, Andrew now, Spencer, Michael, Chris, Timothy, James, Clay T. No, throw Andreas into the mix for the top 10. Clay T snatches it right back up there just in the nick of time. Look at these lovely liveries that we have to see, Jackson.
Solid mix of liveries here. Michael ripping the khaki colored 18 into the second sector and into the long sweeping left-hander only. 0.15 seconds separating your top three. This is exactly what we were anticipating when we saw pre-qualifying, with your top three coming into this. William Rasmussen, Aaron Fitz, who is currently on the pole provisionally, and Michael Flores, who we're now watching in the 18 rip out. 0.73 seconds, 0.073 seconds, less than 100th of a second separating your top three. And you got to go all the way back to P7 to even see a second of separation. So it is incredibly close out front here, somehow tighter than what we've seen in the MX-5 Cup in recent weeks. And when you consider how much faster, how much of a difference these cars can have on track compared to the MX-5 Cup, incredibly impressive to see the length, the depth of competition. Another great lap from Michael, a 133.85. That puts him up into P4. Chang Yong leading a long freight train here to the line as he improves up to P13. I believe that might have been his first green flag run. And Ryan works his way to the point as well with a 133.562, just barely getting over Aaron Fitz. We're going back and forth in the front row. So how do you maximize horsepower and top speed when everybody has the same amount on tap? You try and do some group running. The dirty air being created by the guy in front of you might not be what you want, but in the back straightaways, you are easily, in that main straightaway, getting numbers north of 170 miles an hour in terms of speed. We're seeing that right now as Ryan was working big time in that gap with about 3 other cars, and you could see that effect as he worked himself to the provisional pole. James coming to the line, he improves to 10th with a 135.6, and another great looking car here. Ian in the number 6, murdered out with the white stripes. He comes on to the line again. Very challenging test of speed, shall we say, through the Parabolica Ayrton Senna as he works his way to the line, gets up to P8.
Amazing show of skill and force here around Estoril. And let's walk through a single lap, but Spencer tops the chart with a provisional pole time of 133.534. Ali looking to improve right now as they come around the backside of the track through the final chicane and around Parabolica Ayrton Senna. Let's see where Ali ends up here and now. Is it enough for the top 10? Just barely in the 9th position for the man named Ali. Walking us through turn 1 right now. This will be curve 1, and you gotta just hold it there and get yourself set up for turn 3 as much as possible. This is going to be Lamey corner, and curve 2 is really just going to be flat out. Slow right-hander after the short straightaway, leading all the way back into some back-to-back hairpin corners. One of the few left-hand corners that we have is Ollie has a bit of oversteer coming down into curve VIP and making his way through the short kink very briefly and onto Parabolica Interior.
Shades of Road America there with the right-handed kink coming out of turn number 5, working into this long and complex back straightaway. All about maximizing mechanical grip here. You're not really reaching that speed where the wings can do its job through the sweeping right-hander of Orella. Look at how narrow the track is here. Everyone going to have to be nip and tuck and be bold and brave if they're going to want to make a move through here. Out of turn 8, you can see the bumps and undulations as we work our way into the Gancho hairpin. Running from apex to apex, trying to get as fast as possible. That push rod suspension on this Mustang doing everything it can right now to keep that car nice and flat. We work our way onto the S's and out through the Parabolica Ayrton Senna to end a full pace lap. Andres to the line in P12. Ollie holding on to P8, and Andres looking like he'll pull aside and come back into the pit lane. A phenomenal lap from him, though.
Yep, 6:45 remaining on the clock. Good half of a lap there from Jackson Lambros. Let's see, a couple of drivers hanging out in the pit lane right now to hang their hats. Andrew out there in 4th place driving the black Dark Horse, but I believe he is pulling over right now, and that'll be the end of his run. It looks like all the drivers are actually pulling over. Must be something going on with the server. And let's see if there's any word from race control right now about what's going on. I'm seeing none. Do you, Jackson Lambros?
Target checking in as we check in with Troy in the number 9 machine. Talking a little bit more about the Mustang here, and talking to Robert McGinnis, who has driven a plethora of different GT machinery in real life. Kind of what catches him off is, yes, it is a big, beefy muscle car. It's in volume alone one of the biggest on the grid. But Ford, with the years of experience in GTPs, in making now GT Endurance Championship cars, making a lot of different top-of-the-line race cars, has been blown away by the level of refinement the car has, the technological suites on board that car, which isn't necessarily able to be fully reflected in these systems in game. But if there was one thing he was hoping is reflected in these mods, it's the level of from the floor downforce, as the vast majority of this car's kind of glue to the road factor is coming from the diffuser, from the floor overall. And he said that's really been what's blown him away. As you know, he talks about going through the kink at Road America, in this case, turn 5. It has really, really surprised him with how much he's been able to carry speeds in corners that are, you know, well north of 150 miles an hour. Looking like we've got some problems for the qualifying server here, Sauger, and we'll be restarting the quali in 5 minutes, as it looks like the Tustin drivers were short on only 17 cars on track. And due to some PC problems over there, we're going to re-rack him and restack him, and Troy's going to have to do the same as he immediately comes back to the pits.
That makes a lot of sense. I thought we were short on the 20 drivers that you mentioned earlier on in the event, so that'll give all the drivers enough time and fair time on the track to get their practice in, but a few drivers still toting about and getting their outlaps in and getting comfortable with their vehicles. Troy, Jeffrey, Gerson, Christopher, and Sammy now all in the Estoril garage and ready to head out trackside. And we will get this server restarted in just a few moments' time. Thank you very much for that pit lane report there, Jackson Lambros, to let us know from Race Control what is going on. My own personal Shea Adams, by golly.
There we go, baby. That's what I'm here for. Detroit back in the pits here. Spencer still leading by only a quarter of a tenth of a lap right now, and we talk about advantage. I think a lot of guys are now staying in because they know they've got the extra time on the clock. But these guys are also for sure appreciating the free seat time, the free extra practice they're getting. As again, this is not necessarily a track car combo we're super known for. Only GT3s we usually see on this track is for the International GT Open, which is hosted here at this track. That's pretty much once a year, and even that tends to kind of go around circuit to circuit, as it looks like we are officially gonna do this one more time for real. We've got up to 24 cars out on track now, and we're given the all good from race control out in Pasadena. So 24 cars on track as we are all set to get going. So just a reminder, it's 5 of the quickest drivers from each of the 4 sim centers, and then we've got 4 additional wildcard slots, as James gives it a little bit too much right foot here. Oh my goodness, right on the inside of curve 3. You might just want to teleport back to the pits, my friend.
Absolutely roasted those cold as ice tires, unable to get the traction beneath them. And as Jackson said, a little too much right foot, or giving it too much of the beans there coming out of turn 3, and that sent him around. But looking at the rest of the grid, it looks like everybody is getting off fairly well, and that 24th place car of Nico was able to get back to the garage and rolled out one more time. And just I want to point out, these default liveries look so great with the Weather Sense logo on the side of them. It just is so iconic of a great championship run that they've had this year.
Tell you what, there's big shades further back. I think you're mentioning that kind of red, white, and blue color further back. That's more like, that's giving me Brumos Racing vibes further back. I know that belongs on a Porsche. There it is. No, that's for sure. Hats off to the factory Proton competition ran Fords we're seeing right now. But yeah, Race Sphere. That's like Brumos Racing stripes, though. If anyone online wants to Google Brumos Racing, that's such like their look, and it feels, I don't want to say it feels weird because it's just a red, white, and blue stripe, but if you watched sports car racing, heck, from the 80s all the way up to the mid-2000s, like, you know Brumos Racing, and seeing that not on a Porsche is a little bit weird, but Robert's making it work here in the 11. He's got a good toe in front as well for the first green flag laps underway. Gerson out in front right now with 142.933. These are pretty much these guys' first time really getting to the stripe, so you can tack an asterisk on a lot of these laps. We should be expecting these to go down big time.
Now, Jackson, what do you expect for the race? Do you know kind of the best passing zones, opportunities, or the keys to sim racing victory here?
Well, you look at where the Dark Horse by nature thrives, and that is straightaways. So that run coming out of Parabolica into Carval in turn 1, that is immediately going to be one of your prime opportunities, just like what we see in these kind of outer interloop circuits. Think your Algarves, your Barcelonas, shades like that. I think as well, Parabolica Interior has a really good shot of, I think, surprising some people, especially with that kink at turn 5. That's going to be a setup to really see who's going to be brave, who's going to be able to carry the most speed through those corners, and that could force a mistake, force an opportunity for guys further behind. I think, I mean, Soccer, every time we say this, I tell you the most expected overtaking places, and knowing the skill and the excitement these drivers bring, it's always somewhere. These guys have a tendency to kind of jam the car where the sun doesn't shine and really surprise us on where they can overtake, but for sure, turn 1, I think potentially turn 3, at the creatively named Curva 3, and Parabolica Interior. I would also argue we should really keep it single file through Orella and the S's, because we saw how narrow it is earlier. I'm not going to say that's gridlock potential if we have an incident over there, but the Armcos are in close. It is very, very bumpy in that part of the racetrack. We do not want to see any drama over there by any means. 13 minutes and 30 seconds to go in qualifying. Ryan out in front, Aaron in second, Andrew just getting to the line as well, with Chris in P4, less than half a second across your top 4. We've got another car around there just working out of Orella, as everyone trying to find the limits early on.
Couldn't agree with you more there, Jackson, regarding the entry towards turn 1. Late on the brakes could potentially lead to a successful overtake, but it all starts at the S's, right? Getting a good run out of Curva Parabolica and on the run towards 1 after that long straightaway, optimizing the slipstream that's available to you and just abusing the downforce when you slam onto the brakes. Christopher, Kean, Sammy, Jacob, Chan, Young, James, Timothy, Jeffrey, all outside the top 10 right now, or top 10 and above. Timothy leapfrogs into P13 now after getting leapfrogged by Jacob and Sammy as they got to the line. And this is just a who's who of names from World of Racing headquarters all around the globe. This is absolutely amazing stuff to see. You got names like Ali, Sammy, Kean, Christopher, Robert, Andrew, Aaron, and Ryan all topping the charts right now. And we have 1 second separating the top 6 right now. All the way, let's include top 7 right now as Kean sets a 134.537. And Cody with 1.2 off the pace. Andrew takes provisional pole with a 133.314. 85 thousandths ahead of Mr. Ryan. Out in P2, the number 19. Spencer, though, purple through Sector 1, green through Sector 2, and through Sector 3 it is green as well, and they find third place provisionally, 89 thousandths away from that pole position time. It is less than 1/10 between P1 and P3 right now.
Exactly what we saw going into this weekend. We knew it was going to be intense, and it was a .073 gap from first, second, and third in pre-qualifying. I'm only expecting that to potentially get a little bit tighter. Sammy coming to the line, that's good enough for 8th, a 134.438. And again, the entire field right now within a second of one another, all the way up to P7. There's a new driver on the top, though, Aaron Fritz, working his way to the line with a 133.207 and less than 300ths of a second right now between the front row. You can get a lot of those gaps into the blink of an eye, and that is the most marginal of gaps, whether it's carrying a little bit too much speed into a corner, going a little bit too late on the brakes. Everything adds up here, and Michael improves and works down to work his way into P5. That's a 133.873. And you look at kind of everyone being bunched up right now. Spencer trying to unlock that pace as well. Big kind of drop off in pace, though, from 5th on backside.
And that's a little bit concerning to me right now, is that we're seeing a big gap from 5th on back. Are these drivers just not comfortable with the track conditions yet? We are seeing optimum track grip already, the temperature being a moderate 25 degrees ambient, 35 degrees for the actual track temperature. Are the drivers just not finding their way into clean air? What's going on right now, Jackson?
Andrew just working across the line. Gerson improves up to top 20. I think practice time is a major factor of this, as we've got big drama for Cody there, sliding that 65 immediately. Teleports back over to the pits, and we'll try it again one more time as Clay T has open air as well. I think there's a couple different factors, Sauger. I mean, these guys have a good chunk of them already have an extra 15 minutes of practice under their belt. They already have a slightly better understanding of those track limits, how much speed you can carry, learning those little caveats of the track and where the car gets upset, where it's happy, where the car can kind of load up and launch off of these corners. So I think it's just that little bit of discovery, and we've got 45 minutes of racing ahead of us. There's still plenty of time for us to understand where that might be. Spencer's doing a great job of understanding that, though. He's purple up in Sector 1, and he finds himself just over a 10th off of pace right now. This could potentially be a pole position level lap right now. A little bit of losses there. Could be front row, could be even more. Coming out of the Ayrton Senna Parabolica with 8.5 minutes to go in qualifying. Run to the line. Best enough for Polo. 133.198. Puts nearly 900ths up over Aaron Fritz. Oh my goodness.
Don't count out the rest of the field just yet, Jackson Lambros, because we still have Aaron, Andrew, Ryan, and Michael with 8.5 minutes remaining in this session. and less than 2/10 separating those 4 drivers. Ryan heads back down to pit lane, and he'll get a new change of boots, refuel that vehicle beneath him, and head to the track one more time. With 8 minutes remaining, all you have to do is find some clean air. But Spencer, all the way down from P4, finding those major improvements, nearly a quarter of a second on that pole position lap of his. Pretty darn amazing. That means that it's really anybody's ball game. James up right now by about 2 seconds. He can find his way up to the top 10 as well. As we approach the line, can James keep up the momentum right now? He is, but it's only good enough for 18th place. Ali jumps up into 13th with a 1:34.8, 1.678. Look at how close these times are. I'm going to change it over to the actual lap times so we can see everybody's actual times and see how nearly identical they are compared to the driver around them, Jackson. Christopher, 1:34.652. Cody, 1:34.684. We have a 1:34.1, 1:34.2. We're missing a 1:34.3, but we have the 4, 6, 6, 8, 8, 9, 35, 35, 35, 35, 35. It is so close here at Estoril.
And by the way, the guys kind of from, let's say, 16th, 15th on back, that is still real-life pro pace. Our world record for this car class at this track, a 135.93, excuse me, 393. That was Axel Jeffries in a 48 Ferrari GT3 Evo. So you look all the way up here, Spencer doing a 133.198. These guys are spanking the real-life times for the time being. Clay working his way out of the final parabolica here. It's Clayton Hudson, one of the Pasadena-based drivers, with big-time gains there, over a second up in Sector 1, another 1/5 of a second found in Sector 2. What's it going to be here? 18th quickest, and leapfrogs James down to P19. So big reshuffling here in the middle of the pack as everybody trying to find that prime position on track. No improvements for Andrew and Ryan as they just come across the line. It is still Spencer Kempton over Aaron Fitz.
Very impressive from Clay T. Gained 0.3 of a second on that lap alone, and he's looking to improve again on this lap. Jeffrey gaining 0.3 of a second on this lap also, despite being down in Sector 2 by 0.6 overall. He is up in Sector 1, still down overall. Let's see how Jeffrey fares when he approaches the checkered line. Let's see how it goes for him. 21st, 135.801 for Jeffrey. 21st position is all she wrote, but the top 8 separated by 1 second, as it were. And then, like you said, Jackson, Jeffrey, the gap's only getting closer and closer.
5 minutes to go. We're starting to run out of ways we can really gain time right now, especially in the top 3. You can see a lot of people kind of joining the conversation here and getting close on time, but no one really able to get through Spencer Kempton for the time being. Good first sector there. I can English for Robert Robles in that number 11 car as he works his way through the S's. Thing just within half a second here. This could be P10 potential here for this Brumos colored Porsche out of the Ayrton Senna Parabolica. How wide is he going to run it all the way to the curbs on the outside, almost putting all 4 tires across the white line, but still keeping it legal on track limits. Gets to the line just barely out of top 10 pace, but still major movement forward as he works his way from outside of the top 20 to P11 over to Troy, also trying to improve as well. Half a second in Sector 1, another quarter or so through the second sector. We'll see what he can do to work his way into the top 10 as well.
And looking at the Estoril leaderboard right now, we're roughly seeing drivers end up where they did in their qualifying for this league itself. Spencer Kempton, Aaron Fritz, Michael Flores, William Rasmussen, Chris Lavelle, Ryan Fritz, Andrew Janis, kind of inverting himself. He's a front runner typically in these leagues, and he's putting that to show right now, resting his head in P3. And hopefully we don't see a repeat of what we saw at the MX5 last week. No spoilers, but working his way from the back of the field forward was one challenge that he was not prepared to do, but he overcame it pretty well and had a great result during that MX5 race. It takes a great deal of composure to be able to pull something like that off, and hopefully he doesn't have to repeat that same incident with any sort of collisions this round. I'm not aware, do you know, Jackson, if we're going to have a safety car start or if this will be a standing start?
I'm not sure. I would imagine a standing start, much like what we've seen for the GT3s. Obviously, for some of the longer enduros, we'll have a safety car out and we'll do a rolling start. I'm not sure if it will be the same here. Again, 45 minutes with one pit stop. So I'm going to imagine standing start. I could be proven very, very wrong, though. We'll assume that's the case.
Well, you know what happens when you assume, Jackson, but we'll assume for now that is the case. Let's see Jeffrey improve one more time as he gets to the line. 135.324. And it looks like Jeffrey's going to call it Dunzo in the Unzo for now. Just 2 minutes remaining on the clock. He will not have enough time to do an outlap and then do one more. So I believe that will be all she wrote. Chris looking to improve, up about 0.4 of a second on their lap time. Where will this put them? Potentially not even enough to improve their position overall, just getting closer to Michael and Ryan. 6th place right now, and I believe 6th place is where he'll stay, 133.6, and that's where he will stay for now. And I believe that will be it for Chris on this number of attempts. Cody getting his outlap in right now, running 2 minutes plus on that one, so he'll get this one plus one more. Timothy right now beginning their lap, coming through turn 2 and approaching turn 3, definitely on a flyer.
And we know that this is not indeed Tim G. That is Timothy Heckman, not the imposter, as he works his way out. One of our MX5 veterans here, Andres Luna, in the khaki 13. Good gains there on that first sector. He's up 1/4 of a second. We've got less than a minute on the clock, so the next time to the stripe will more than likely be your last time around. It certainly will be for Chris as he works his way through this middle sector. Again, track gets so narrow here, and I think that's been our big decider in track time in discovering this track is how to navigate these bumps kind of Sebring style without fully upsetting the car, without losing time, and staying committed, staying at maximum pace. Sammy just all the way to the outside there. You can see how close that Armco is on the left-hand side of the track, running it down to the absolute inch there to carry as much speed as possible out of the S's and into the Ayrton Senna Parabolica. Top 10 right now. He's looking for a little bit more. It was a bad first sector. He made up a little bit in that second sector. Will it be enough to move forward as he comes to the line for the final time? It is P7, dropping William, Kean, and Troy down to 10th. Good lap there from Sammy.
Great lap from Sammy. Right when he needed to produce, he was able to deal with the pressure pretty well and get that one done. Cody, on the other hand, getting a little squirrely through turn 3 with the oversteer, down in 11th position for now on their 17th lap of asking. Chris, however, is coming up to the backside of the racetrack, improving through sector 1 one more time, but they are seeing the checkered flag already, so this should not count towards them if I'm not mistaken. You can see there on the left-hand side of your screen, the checkered flag is for the drivers that have already finished up the qualifying session, and the green marks, meaning that the drivers are actually still on flying laps. They have not crossed the checkered flag just yet. So Chris, although showing that he has more pace underneath him, this should not count towards his qualifying time, and that definitely won't. As you said, those Armco barriers approaching at a rate faster than not. Chris found out how close he could get.
Steve Person might get some help here from the driver right behind. I want to see that's Nico He won't. He'll peek out as we come to the line for the final time. William, the last one on track here, trying to move forward. Same could be said for Jacob Chen Yong coming out for the final time. How about Ollie, a 134.846? The best lap so far for the 12 machine. They've just crossed the line, it looks like, as this is turn 3. That is going to be all she wrote then for qualifying. And indeed, it will be Spencer Kepton, your fastest in pre-qualifying, that will stand on pole alongside Aaron Fritz for the first race in GT history, in World of Racing Pro Series racing history. Cars starting to line up here on the grid, as it will be Spencer, Aaron, Andrew Janus, looking back to Ryan Fritz, Andrew Janus, Cody Welker, Sammy, and others. Waiting for the lights to come on here. It's 24 cars from 3 series and 5 lights. When they come out, a brand new chapter in World of Racing history is about to be written. Let's get riding and let's go racing here at Estoril.
Here we go, approaching down towards turn 1. It is a squabble amongst drivers. Everybody trying to go which way they can find a gap, and Spencer going off the racetrack, having to rejoin at turn 2. They're going to go 3 wide, leading down in towards 3. Spencer not able to find the real estate that he expected to get on that rejoin, almost gets turned around by the Red Bull looking livery, and we do have some calamity and chaos as Cody and Jeffrey were involved in an incident, it would seem, further down the field, but it is all nip and tuck up at the front for the front 9 drivers right now. Let's check back in with William and Michael, Andrew and Aaron. We're going to get a restart, folks.
It was just a little bit too much chaos there, and it looked like Spencer Kepton just carried a little bit too much speed into turn 1. And again, no safety car, no VSC like we saw in the MX-5 series. We're going to re-rack him and restack him and try it one more time. Aaron Fritz got a little bit too much there as well. Chris Lovell was your big winner there, working his way up from P6 to P1 on that start. And he'll be trying to do the exact same right now. Back to it, as it's a slower roll-off this time by, and I think we'll actually be doing a rolling start. Yes, we absolutely will be doing a rolling start, looking at the way everyone's containing themselves.
That makes a lot of sense now. Rolling start for this number of drivers makes a ton of sense. The calamity and chaos that we saw earlier on leading down in towards turn 1 was just a little messy for my liking, but these drivers are well equipped to deal with a nice fast-paced rolling start. And of course, Spencer will control the grid coming out of Parabolica, and getting to the line, he will take the green flag.
So again, it's a pair of 20-minute races, no pit stop being involved here. But it will be a reverse grid for race 2. So if you're having a poor race 1, you'll be starting at the sharp end here. Race 2, that's almost you wishing you were outside of the... I think we've talked about this a lot in the MX-5 saga. It's almost like wanting to be on the either the front or the rear of the field. We see how much these guys jostle in the mid-pack for action.
Absolutely. I got 99 car problems, but a Sting ain't one. So race 2 could definitely be better than your race 1. With a reverse grid, cars like Spencer, Aaron, and Andrew working their way up from the back of the pack will be challenged to push their way forward and find their way through the grid of slightly slower cars, and maintaining the race pace, consistency, and tact will be very, very, very important for them to make it to the checkered flag as well. Looking forward to seeing how they fare in the reverse grid. That should be a very exciting one. But we're coming down to Parabolica. Jackson, why don't you take us away for the green flag?
Let's try it again one more time here. Spencer and Aaron on the front row. They're going to try to re-rack them here as we will roll them to the green. And again, reverse grid coming up, but we got to set the finale of the first race first. Lights out in Libsyn, and it is an early breakaway for Spencer, already under pressure. Andrew Janus is trying to pass Aaron Fritz on the run into turn 1. They're two abreast. Andrew's down low in that graffiti-colored Mustang, and he's actually on the outside. Excuse me, that black and white color has a big dive there from Aaron trying to defend. They'll hold it Too wide here, working through Curva 2. Just further back, Ryan to pounce and pick up the scraps. Aaron able to hold on P2 for the time being, but once again, nobody home. For Spencer, Aaron very wide there, almost gets around, and will drop a position, maybe two, because here comes Ryan around the outside. William getting into the mix. We're 2 by 2, working our way out of Curva VIP, and we are still clean and green, working onto the backstretch and through the kink.
To the kink of turn 5, or Curva 5, on our way to Parabolica Interior. It's single file, not any longer, as Aaron licks the stamps and sends it on Andrew Janis. Andrew's going to fall worse for wear and lose at least one position, potentially two. Now William wants a slice of the pie as he sticks his nose in around the long way, but Andrew's still going to contend with Ryan for now, rocking the Red Bull-looking livery. And this is just great action-packed racing, and we're only a few moments into this event. One lap under our belts, folks. We've still got 16 and a half minutes plus one 20-minute reverse grid race coming up at you. Grab the popcorn, grab your favorite drink during the intermission, and we've got a great night of racing. Nowhere I'd rather be, Jackson.
Been a phenomenal start here, whether it was that standing start or what we've seen already in the rolling start. Aaron going down low to defend as here comes Janus with another good bit of momentum into Curva 1, trying to roll it all the way around the outside. There's contact. Ryan Fritz goes around in the 19. He'll drop massively and keep it off in the apron to try and minimize that mothballing. But such a phenomenal start, unfortunately, for Ryan Fritz. He falls down to P10. It's almost more being lost as here comes Robert Robles down low into Curva 2. He's trying to pick up the scraps in that race fear machine. He works his way from P11 up into P9, back down to P10 as Chris shuffles on through the inside, back out of Curva VIP and through the kink. And we finally sort him out again. But man, what a major shuffle there. That'll promote William up into P4, Michael up into P5, as Robert Robles continuing to try and put that pressure on Chris. Chris Lovell there just ahead of the 19, trying to make P9 his.
Amazing stuff. Chris able to recover right through turn 1. I thought that was absolutely terrible, and he was going to pirouette that car, but somehow he was able to maintain control of that vehicle. Goes to show you what I know, and these drivers are well equipped to handle anything that is thrown at them. He was helped a little bit in getting that car turned around the right way, but he did it all on his own to maintain his pace. Right now, he is down in P9 and working his way forward through the grid. He's 7/10 down on Cody, but that's a long way to go. 14:25 remaining on the clock, and the drivers are setting their fastest laps of the event right now. The purple times on the left-hand side of your screen mean that is a driver's personal best, not necessarily the fastest lap of the event that we would typically see on a timing tower.
P8 for Cody Walker here in that RSS performance machine, inspired by the livery we saw from Ford on the streets of Detroit last year. The different factory colors kind of being decked around that we've seen on traditional street legal Ford Mustangs throughout the years, trying to put the pressure right now on Kean Balbus, just a little bit up the road there in that black and white machine. Here comes Chris, though. Chris Hare with good momentum coming out, not able to fully get there, though.
Now on this occasion, let's go on board with Chris and see what he is seeing through his eyes, or the eyes of a passenger of this Ford Mustang. As he chases down Cody, he made up 7/10 of a second very quickly. William tumbles down the order, loses a position to Michael and Troy, now down in the 6th place as he works his way back up the grid, hopefully sooner rather than later. Back to Cody as he's chopped away. That 7/10 of a gap was down to under half a second. Now it's climbed back up to 6/10 of a second. Is that the dirty air, Jackson, that you were talking about during the pre-race show?
It's a minimal effect when these drivers are in the same machinery, but it absolutely stacks up, especially when there's more. Big dive here from Chris Lovell on the inside. What a move there to clear Cody as he gets his way up into P8. I told you, prime opportunity to make those moves was indeed going to be the inside of turn 1, and that is where he got it done. Good stuff there. As back over to Clayton Henderson here a little bit further back in 15th. Person just a little bit ahead and fending off from, I believe that's Jeffrey Rosales. We've got trouble though, because Kian Balbus is off. That's Curva 2, and this could potentially be an unsafe rejoin. He's got to be so careful in not putting that car in the wrong spot right on the racing line, but peels off and make sure there that Nico gets around with no harm and no foul. Clean rejoin here. Ryan pouncing another spot there on Cody Welker as Welker goes a little bit wide there, going into Parabolica Interior. So P8 now for Ryan.
And Cody falls back. Something must just not be right for that Mustang that he's driving right now. Perhaps the tires are a little bit more roasted than he would like. He is just not as comfortable as he was in this qualifying stint, unable to keep on climbing up the order. He gained a position, now loses a position to Ryan. Very interesting there. Checking in with Troy in 5th place. The number 9 Mustang chases down Michael by just half a second. 133.3, 133.5, 133.5. And let's check in on the rest of these times. 134.227.0. Chris chasing down William right now and closing down the gap by around half a second. Chris and Ryan having a little battle or tussle in matching liveries. The number 19s go after it in towards turn 1. Chris gets by Ryan, and Cody licking his lips and saying, I want a piece of that in just a few moments' time. I'll be there with you.
Two Eagle Color 19s going at it right now as we work our way through Aurelia and up towards Gancho. This is where you really need to keep things nip and tuck. More problems. It's William Janus, I believe, going around. Oh, it's William Rasmussen in the 8. Oh my goodness, heartbreak for the young driver in Tustin who had such a phenomenal start to this race. In the middle of the track there, you'll have to be hoping he can get that safe, but this battle will rage on right now as Ryan Fritz continues to put that pressure on Chris Lovell. Great opportunity here as we work our way out of Aurelia and on to the S's. Not an overtaking opportunity in and of itself, but definitely a place where you can force an error and set up that opportunity. Right-hand flick through the S's, and watch how different of a line here Ryan might be taking from Chris out in front, hugging that curbing on the inside, trying to launch out of turn 11 and tucks all the way into the back of that familiarly colored number 19. Coming down to the line. Chris going middle to defend. Ryan going all the way outside. He's been forced to go the long way around. How brave and bold is he? Into Curval. It's almost a hairpin. It's so difficult to plant and launch there. Ryan's got to go all the way up on the curbing on the runoff to get it done. He keeps it too wide. He sets it up for the crossover. Into Curva 2. We're 2 abreast. Heading into Curva 3. Ryan not giving up. Chris going a little bit too wide. It took half a course in 7 corners to do it, but P6 is finally granted to Ryan.
That was a textbook over-under maneuver. Set it up from the outside, worked his way back to the inside by braking early, let the driver ahead outbrake himself that much more, and just executed brilliantly. Hats off to Ryan. And Chris, unable to recover, loses 2 more positions off of that. Just really off of his rhythm right now. Just uneasy since turn 3. And we do have a driver off. That'll be Gerson at turn 3 right now. And he's going to have to work his way back into the groove of things here shortly. A little bump in the rump. Headed down into 10K. From Chris to Robert. Robert driving the white Mustang number 11 with the red, white, and blue stripes down the middle. And Chris in the red, white, and yellow machine. Or red, white, and yellow? Red, white, and blue machine.
So Chris continuing to charge forward here and trying to pick up those pieces. Robert Robles now leading this 2-3 car pack in that white striped machine. Great drive further back though. That 10th place driver in the 08, Jacob Rodriguez, 22nd on pace coming into this weekend, and was 15th or so in pace, has already worked his way up significantly. Dead even on the grid right now, not exactly what he wants to move forward come race 2, but he's already proved some significant pace there in that graffiti colored 08 car, up 6 positions so far. Clay Henderson, the other driver moving up big time, but one of your biggest chargers so far. Same could be said for Troy, who's up 5 as well. Jacob about to make it potentially 6. He's got good momentum right now on Chris Lovell. Tried to make it work on the outside into Parabolica interior, but has to think smarter of it. Still has 7 minutes on the clock and gets back in line.
James up 9, Clay T up 7. Very good position gains, and it's strange up at the front of the field. It's 0-0-0 for Spencer, Aaron, and Andrew. The drivers up at the front podium have kept it clean this entire time, and no position changes have been made. But Michael up 1 and Troy up 5 for the top 5 right now. That's looking pretty fair. Ryan down 2 and Chris down 3 overall.
Riding on the wing here of Andres Luna as he is right in the mix. Clayton Hudson just a little bit up the road there. And currently fending off from Jeffrey Rosales as Jacob coming into the pits. Interestingly enough, that's not a mandatory thing. That might have been a race-controlled issued drive-through penalty. I'm not entirely sure what happened there for Jacob, but he is back out on track. Andres defending down low right now, trying to make a move on Clayton Hudson just a little bit further up. Had to bleed off so much speed there. They were 2 abreast, but he had to be on the binders big time there to keep the 2 colliding into curve 1, and they'll stretch out once again. Chris continuing to put the pressure on Robert Robles. Good opportunity here as we work into Parabolic Interior. He tried this exact move a couple of laps ago, but again, it's continuing to be reserved. 5.5 minutes on the clock, and nobody out right now for Spencer Kempton. Haven't even talked about him for the vast majority of the night, but we've kind of seen the pack dilute for the most part up on the sharp end of the field. 2 seconds between himself and Aaron Fritz. Andrew Janus there as well, 3 seconds back. Michael Flores, another 4 seconds back. This is really our best battle on track right now into the S's.
Truly is. Clay T and Andreas separated by 0.3 of a second. We'll keep an eye on the timing tower for you so you at home don't have to. We'll stay glued with this battle for just a couple more laps, but a couple more laps is all that Chris has left to get this one done. The driver is running about 1.5 minutes per lap, so we're going to see just a few more, maybe even get one more bonus lap as Chris moves over to the inside line for turn 1, licks the stamp, sends it. He might have outbraked himself. He sure did. He thought he had a little bit more room to run leading down in towards 1, but it wasn't available to him on the brakes. Robert just keeps on driving his little heart out right now. That is a driver that we've seen in many leagues here. He is not included in the MX-5s, if I'm not mistaken, but a seasoned driver with World of Racing, and he's just showcasing his cool, calm collectedness right now.
That's another point forward for Robert Robles as another battle starts to pick up here. This is Troy Ferguson defending from one of the Ryans. I want to say that's Ryan Fritz. It is. And Ryan in that winged 19 car continuing to put the pressure coming out of Arella. Michael just a little bit further up the road, thankful that these two aren't going at it with one another. Ryan looking for a gap here, working into the S's. Look at how much wider of an entry he takes and how much later of an apex he's trying, working into the final turn. Again, trying to launch out of that final corner, giving himself the best opportunity to clear him. 3.5 minutes to go, and the battle for 5th is alive and well. Troy all the way down to the pit wall, trying to break that draft. Ryan goes with him and launches alongside him. The slingshot has been engaged, but he's got to work the long way around into curve 1. He tries to set up that over-under, and he's not taking the advice right now of Jensen Altman and planning that bus on the apex. The over-under is what gets Ryan up to P5.
Amazing moves from these drivers, working it where you think that they can't make the overtakes in reality happen, but turn 1 being the hot spot for overtaking here at Estoril was a surefire call by Jackson Lambros, and we've seen the greatest number of overtakes happen there. Clay T going wheel to wheel with Andreas in the khaki colored Mustang right now, and Clay T on the inside performance Mustang. and they're going to go wheel to wheel, side to side, all the way through turn 3. Approaching curve of VIP, the 65 has to do the hard work along the outside line, but we all know that that outside will eventually turn to the inside for the following corner, and that's where the 65 gets the money made. And he finds his way past the khaki car, but no, Andreas is going to try to do it up the inside, and a little help from Jeffrey from behind, bumping the rump for the 65, sends him a little wider than he'd like to, and there's elbows out between the 65 from behind, Jeffrey and Christopher, as Jeffrey gets by Christopher in that maneuver as well.
Jeffrey vastly offline there, and will be losing a handful of positions as a result. Christopher just further back there, and that number 7 starting to enter the fray as well. And again, this is where you kind of wait and try and pounce on those opportunities to make the most of the mistakes of others. And yes, turn 1, your prime opportunity to make an overtake, but you're spending that entire second sector from Arela all the way up to the S's and Parabolica, setting up, carrying up as much speed as possible to make that move a possibility in the first place. Another big lunge from Jeffrey here. Does he have the momentum and speed to keep it going, though? Oh, big contact further back. Clay T gets turned by Christopher. Fully turned around there. That'll get reshuffled, but that's the first major carnage we've had here. And it was Curva 1 where we saw that happen. Keon and Christopher getting back into the mix. Keon getting a free position in that process. That might be under official review, though, as that is the first time we've really seen a driver using the chrome horn.
And most importantly, the gap for the lead has come down to under 1 second. And just as I say that, it is 1.1 seconds. Not sure what's going on for Spencer right now, but a little bit of a mistake on that previous lap. 134.2, 134.2, as drivers throw out nearly identical lap times, and we will get this final bonus lap. Let's take us through the final lap, Jackson.
Been a phenomenal drive so far for your top 3 drivers. Aaron Fritz has thrown everything he possibly could at Spencer Kempton, but it is looking to be to no avail. That gap has indeed closed, though, because that was all the way up to 2 seconds and change. It's gone down to just a second. 0.8 about the gap that we're looking for here for the slipstream to really come into effect. So it's going to need to be a monster second section here for Aaron Fritz as he tries to close that gap. It's been all Pasadena out in front right now. Spencer Kempton and Aaron Fritz, that center's top 2 drivers in there. Michael Flores was 3rd in pre-qualifying. He's worked his way into 4th. You got to look all the way back to Andrew Janus there in 3rd for Pasadena to get in the mix. I'm not even sure where our best of the new guys at Phoenix have kind of worked into the mix as well. Maybe some more drama there for Robert Robles. You see that on the left-hand side of your screen. He drops back a little bit. And it is all eyes, though, on the front of our field. Spencer Kempton has absolutely dominated for the entirety of this 20-minute race. Checkered flag flies, and the first winner of the World of Racing Pro Series is Spencer Kempton. Aaron Fritz will come home in 2nd. Andrew Janus gets to the line as well for your first podium and your first cash prize winners here at Estoril.
And we have Michael, Ryan, Troy, Cody, Chris, Timothy, Jacob. That'll round out your top 10. Robert having an incident on the last lap of this event, the number 11 in 11th place, aptly put. Then we have James, Andreas, Jeffrey, Christopher, Clay T, Kian, Ali, Chan Young, William, Gerson, Nico, and Sammy. For the reverse grid coming up, it'll be Sammy, Nico, Gerson, William, and Chan Young for the first couple of rows.
And make no mistake, Sammy Novak having some phenomenal pace, was top 10 in qualifying, 11th quickest in pre-qualifying earlier on this week. There's some good pace for that Tustin-based driver, and he will be able to apply it in the best way possible alongside Nico when we get ready for race 2. And we've got some guys chucking it across the start-finish line. If they can turn traction control off, there is absolutely enough horsepower in these cars to really do some donuts. I'll tell you what, though. you really look at who now is pushed to the back of the field. Spencer, Aaron, Andrew, Michael. What are they going to be able to do from the back of the field? How far can they move forward in the next 20 minutes?
I think that's a very good question, because it's not about your race pace anymore, although it is somewhat. It's really about your car control and how well you can overtake other drivers in equal machinery, right? It's about your race craft being your number one priority. Can you keep it clean? Can you make these overtakes in spots where other drivers would least expect it, and push that race pace to your advantage? It'll really be telling in the last couple of moments of heat number 2 to find out who's made it to the top and how they made it to the top, without any indication from race control that anything should change post-race, meaning penalties or review of incidences, things along those lines. I'm very much looking forward to this reverse grid in just a few moments' time. Let's make sure from race control that we're going to get started here right away, or if we're going to be taking a break. I'm not seeing any word about taking a break, so we'll stay trackside with you for just a few moments as we get ready for heat number 2.
Great words there from Sagar Bakshi, though. To quote the great Robin Miller, you can be a very, very fast driver, but you can be a poor racer. And I think we've seen a couple of drivers in both the virtual and real world, probably in your public lobbies, being a good example of that. But again, it's all about the beauty of World of Racing is the ability to refine that wheel-to-wheel racecraft, to be able to race man-to-man and to be able to look over to your right and to your left and see the guy you're racing against in the virtual world out on track. And we've seen a lot of people really, really develop their racecraft in our club races, whether it's been the MX-5s or the GT3s. And we see the best of the best here in the Pro Series, but absolutely expecting some guys to walk away learning some new things. If you're a racer, you're always learning something, whether you're in the virtual or the real world.
Absolutely. Whether you're at the tip of the spear or you're racing for P10 and behind, you're gonna be learning something new time and time again when you're out on the racetrack. When you've got 4 wheels down on the asphalt and you're racing against other drivers, you have to be learning something else. Otherwise, you're doing yourself a disservice of time and effort when you're racing against other drivers. Whether you're learning each other's racecraft or you're learning each other's abilities on the track, there's always something to be absorbed by those around you. So don't take it for granted that some of these drivers may have gotten lapped, or some of these drivers racing for P10 and beyond. These are the best drivers at World of Racing right now, and some crazy names out here. Clay T, Christopher, Jeffrey, Andreas, Ali, putting on a fantastic show for us tonight, and it's just been phenomenal. Look at that finishing position from Ali, 18th, from a driver that's typically in the top 5 of every event that he participates in, finishing less than a 10th behind Kian, getting to the line after 20 minutes of action-packed racing. That is just phenomenal to see.
8:20 your race start here for the second half of week 1 for the Pro Series. We'll step aside for just a moment here from the World of Racing, but don't get anywhere. It's week 1 of the Pro Series. Back to it here as we start to set the table for race number 2 of the World of Racing Pro Series. The Mustang Challenge taking on Circuit to Estoril. Jackson Lambros here alongside Sagar Bakshi. So excited for you to spend your Thursday night with us, whether you're at one of the World of Racing's many sim centers here on the West Coast, or whether you're watching, shall I say, around the world, getting set here. And it was a brutal end to race number 1 for Sammy Novak. He was phenomenal on pace to get things started. He will be rolling off from pole position alongside the newcomer Nico, who we did not actually have as a pre-qualifier. Joining this field, Gerson will be in 3rd, alongside William Janus in 4th to round out your row 4. P5 will be Changyong Hao, one of the newer Pasadena drivers. 16th outright in scoring on that front. Then it's Ali, Cain, Clayt, Christopher, and Jeffrey looking a little bit further back. Should be an interesting one. And the big question here, as we talked about before we had our brief break there, Sagar, what can Spencer and Aaron do to work their way from the back to the front?
It's going to be super interesting to watch these seasoned drivers work their way forward. I'm not sure how familiar these guys are with working their way from the back of the pack forward. And I think that will be very interesting to see first and foremost. I think some of these drivers are used to the vehicle by now. I think some of them are used to the wheel-to-wheel action. But are they used to working their way through slower vehicles in general? Not just in these machines. In general, they will be tested over and over again about their racecraft and their ability to maintain their pace in hectic and chaotic situations. And we are getting set to the grid right now, and the drivers are revving their engines as we get ready for the green flag, Draxon.
Looks like Nico's on pole. Sammy's still back in P23, and this is why we've got that warm-up lap, so they'll be able to...
Oh, that's because he warped to the pits at the end.
Oh, it was. Oh, my goodness, it was. So let's see. It should be a rolling start again, unless we're fangs out from the start. And we seem a little bit more reserved. It's so hard to tell sometimes, but this looks like a fangs out green flag start. We are racing for race number 2. William with a big dive down low to try and take P2 from Nico. He's got it, and William Janus firing out like a cannon, trying to get that momentum all the way out to Gerson. The 2 black and white Mustangs leading this whole field a couple moves further back as William with a lunge all the way down to the inside of Curva 3 takes the point in just 3 corners.
What a whole shot maneuver there for William. He was able to find the daylight and opportunize the situation very well, and we are getting a restart.
So we'll try that again one more time. And I believe this might be that rolling start we were looking for. Again, Sammy, second to last place outright, but again, gets that penalty for teleporting to the pits. And it looks like we should have ourselves a re-racked, restacked start here. Again, I think everybody is trying to be reminded, hey, we're doing ourselves a rolling start here.
It looked like they're wheel-to-wheel racing.
Again, I get so scared because it feels like it, but it is indeed gonna look like Gerson with that pole position for the time being. Big question is, are we going to see 2 wide on the start? Only time will tell, but another non-qualified driver there, Gerson, out on pole here. Gerson, Nico, William, Shane Young, then it's Ali Salame, another MX-5 veteran that me and Sagar are very used to here in World of Racing. Then you go back to Keon Clayt. It is not Clayt T. It's indeed Clayt Hudson. Apologies to Clayt for that little waffle. It's just sometimes we get the different last names, and we have that abbreviation. That's why you always hear us calling him Timothy and Tim G. And we know as a God-given fact, it's actually... which of the Timothys? It's Timothy Heckman in the field right now as he rolls off in 13th. But looking further back, it's Clayt, Christopher, Jeffrey, and Andres, your top 3, or your top 10.
Looks like P1 and P2 have slowed down considerably. So maybe we are getting a rolling start, but P16 of Troy needs to get the hurry up and go on right now to catch up to the rest of the field.
Gerson on the pole. Nico trying to make it work from second. William Janus going to try and rerun that phenomenal start he had earlier on. He gets off and hits the ground running. A great launch there onto the back straightaway to the inside as we go green for race number 2 from Estoril. William already taking P2 from Nico and will try to work his way to the lead with no time wasted. A little bit wide there and a little bit of the tail kicking out. He has to gather it back up. As further back, Chan Young tries to work his way through as well. He's on the outside of Ali. They'll be 2 abreast as we work our way into curve 3. Ali's got the inside line. He holds on to P4 for the time being.
Great see, but William and Gerson going wheel to wheel on the matching liveried cars right now, going at it through the kink of curve 5. William there on the inside line is able to get the move done and ahead of Gerson, but the outside line is going to turn to the inside for the following corner, but Gerson unable to capitalize on that situation. William carries his speed, and we have a contender for the wall barrier, and that'll be Nico, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that is Nico off and into the barriers at Parabolica Interior. 23 of Sammy starting from the pit lane has a lot of ground to make up, and so do the drivers from 16th and further back, having to make up a ton of ground as they were caught off guard for that race start.
Looks like some more drama as well for Christopher Hare. He's now back in P22 as well. Here is one of the Ryan's, Ryan Fritz, and a big spin further back. Troy Ferguson going around, backing it into the outside of Parabolica. That looks like maybe just a little bit too much curb taken on the inside, and he goes from 14th all the way back to 17th. We're nearly 3 abreast coming off of the line. Andrew continuing to charge hard as he works his way up. Here is Andres, though, with a big lunge to the inside of Clayton. He gets his way up into P6, but there is a massive freight train behind of 5, 6, 7 carts. You can see it on the map on the right-hand side of your screen. Nobody giving anybody an inch here. Cody trying to work the long way around. Watch the tightrope up in the marbles in curve 3. He's trying to launch around Chris. Outside becomes the inside as we work into the VIP curve. Is he able to plan and launch to clear Timothy for that position? We're still side by side working through the kink. Who's going to be bolder and braver? Who's going to lift off? Nobody. We're still too wide as we head in. Ryan working into the mix. We're nearly 3 wide coming into the interior Parabolica. And somehow, some way, Chris able to roll all of that momentum onto the outside to hold that position for the time being.
Heart in my hand moment as we went almost 3 wide through the tightest part of the track. 65 in the 19 going after it wheel to wheel, but Ryan really stuck behind this freight train of cars, has nowhere to go right now, and he is just sitting waiting in the wings of the 65 and the 19 in front to just duke it out amongst themselves to figure out who's going to be in front, who's going to follow in that current situation. But right now it's Cody over Ryan, and let's check in with the front of the field as Kian chases down Ali, running a little bit faster on that previous lap. Let's see if he can make the move work going down in towards turn 1. Kian early on the brakes there allows Ali to outbrake himself, running out onto the runoff road, and he's going to try to make a move stick going in towards turn 2, but it won't work there as Ali chops the nose right off. Nose to tail right now between these 3 drivers, Ali, Kian, and Jacob, going after it. Ali falling further down the order on the inside line in the khaki colored Mustang. The black Mustang is going to be Kian, and Jacob in the graffiti colored car in the further back position in 5th place. Why not go 3 wide leading down into interior? But no, not on this occasion. The drivers think better of it. Let's check in at the back of the field. Chan Young falling back and prey to Aaron. And that'll be Spencer working his way forward in that white Mustang. Yes, that is Spencer in the Race Sphere Mustang, trying to find his way through, but Chan Young closes the door, says, no, thank you, sir. You start at the back of the grid. That's where we'd like to keep you for now.
Not that movement forward that a lot of these further back drivers were hoping, but they absolutely have progressed just a couple of positions less than I think we expected. That was a major incident earlier. Robert ramping off of the curbing on the kink and nearly took Spencer out in the process there as he kind of got kicked out into the middle of the racetrack, nearly wiped both of them out in the process. Rewinding a little bit, huge hats off to Ryan to be able to go wheel to wheel with Chris for so long. We are nearly 3 wide here at the front as Timothy continues to spearhead this entire field. Clay, Ryan, and Chris trying to work through as well. Nearly door-to-door contact further back between Clay and Chris. They continue to go 2 abreast. We've got to dive big time for the inside here. Here comes Clay Henderson. 1 car around. Our camera can't show it, but that is major drama for Andrew and Clay as they are both broadside. They need to make sure they can rejoin safely, and that is heartbreak for Andrew Janus and Clayton Hudson. They both drop back to 19th and 20th.
I think that was a move just a little too late there. The door was closing faster than you can blink your eyes, and eventually 2 do not go into 1, and that was just a situation that caught the drivers off guard there. Super unfortunate, but we have 12 minutes remaining, and it's William leading the charge by 6.3 seconds right now. Kian in P3, Jacob in P4, Ali in P5.
Phenomenal driving so far for William Rasmussen. 7 seconds and change now over the remainder of the field. Kian has also done a bang-up job defending from Jacob and Ali. Again, that's a cash-paying position now that he is fending off and is doing a phenomenal job of doing so. Couple more peaks as we work our way into Curve 1 further back. Looks like Chris and Timothy going side by side. It's a big lunge to the inside there from Chris Lovell, trying to get that move on Timothy, or excuse me, on Timothy. Is able to get that move done. 1 car off big time though, as I believe that is indeed Timothy. So he goes off, drops back to 10th, and that will allow Cody to tiptoe on by for P9. He's been waiting further back, just kind of waiting to capitalize on the mistakes of others. And with that lawn work for Timothy, he gets on by. Back to the mid-pack here. Spencer trying to charge forward. And I'll tell you what, yes, he's back in 14th. Aaron's already found his way up into P11. So your runner-up already finding his way a little bit further forward than your race 1 winner. That might change very quickly, though, with a big lunge to the inside of Parabolica Interior. It's P13 for Spencer. Michael going massively offline. Spencer goes very deep on the brakes as well. He has to go all the way to the inside and defend middle now, because here comes Andrew Janus in his recovery drive. And now we're all forced to get back in line as we work through the back half of this track. Again, incredibly bumpy, incredibly narrow. You see that barrier just there, so close. Andrew nearly getting into the wall, and we're forced to stay nip and tuck as we work our way into the Parabolica to Ayrton Senna.
I thought Andrew Janus had gotten the 2-for-1 special there on Michael and Spencer, but unable to secure that. Kian finds his way up into P2 after Gersten makes a brief mistake. Let's check in with them briefly as the 2 matching liveried cars, the 5 and the 6, go after it right now. Kian 9 seconds off the good from William, as it were. Gersten 4/10 back from Kian, but that gap looks a lot smaller, and it is pretty small as they go side by side through Curva VIP with a little bit of a send there from Gerson on Kian. Kian has to back out of that one. Gerson finds his way forward into P2.
Good move from Kian Balbus there, as that might have just popped the cork out of the bottle, because you've got a hard charging Chris Lovell further back trying to work his way around the outside of Ali, is able to still just barely clear him. You've got some big time commitment issues further up there. Ryan trying to make a move work around Jacob, was looking outside then inside, working through Gaucho. As we pick that battle up, you can see how much these carts bump and undulate over this section of the racetrack as we work our way out of Arella. And all of a sudden, you put William aside. That's a 10-second gap now. But Gerson all the way back to Kian and Jacob. It is anyone's game.
True to form, these drivers are showing us what they're made out of. Kian and Jacob going wheel to wheel, nearly identical lap times from the two drivers. We're going to go 2 by 2, headed down in towards turn 1. Kian on the inside line finds his way forward, but he has to slow down a little bit too much. Back. And there is huge calamity and chaos as Ali and Chris are involved in that, leading down in towards turn 1. Not sure who's worse for wear. Ali down into 12th place and may lose a couple of more as the momentum and speed is just gone from him as we approach turn 3. There is a late braking move. Spencer finds his way up into P12, chasing down Aaron up in P9 ahead, and there is a big door bang hip check into Ali. I think he's going to reset back to pit lane. Yes, he will. Super unfortunate incident there that sends him to the end of his race.
When it rains, it pours, unfortunately, as you're instantly in kind of damage recovery mode. We got what looks like some major shuffles further back, though, as Kian continues to go back and forth. We thought that was a done deal earlier on. That move for P2 from Balbus just behind. You've got two of these black and white cars going at it. Then one of the graffiti cars fending off from the Red Bull cars. Ryan with a look there, going into the S's. He's massively off. He has to gather it back up after locking the fronts into the marbles there through the S's. And this is going to be heartbreak, as this is a prime time for overtaking opportunity. We still somehow have just barely 7 minutes on the clock here. And all of a sudden, Ryan Fritz has entered the chat for the podium conversations. Big look to the inside once again from Balbus. We'll try to get this move done on the anchors, but Gerson able to roll all of that momentum on the inside and launch. It's not enough. He loses 2 positions. Kian able to move up to second, and Jacob up into the points paying positions.
Absolutely beautiful maneuver there from the 08 of Jacob. And now he's not done just yet. Looking at Kian like a tasty morsel, but gets pushed out wide. Gerson on the inside line gives that graffiti colored car a little bit of a run for his money. Now Ryan getting involved, wants a piece of the pie himself. The number 19 is gonna make it 3 wide, heading down into interior, and just barely backs out of it at the last moment of asking. Falls back into 5th place right now, fighting for another day. Looks to the outside line around Ryan, Jacob, Gerson. Can he make the move stick? He is trying as hard as he might, setting it up for Tonke. Oh, and he might kiss the barrier there, just barely millimeters away from death as he switches back this Hyperion GTM around. Does a great job getting it set up for Parabolica, Ayrton Senna, and set up towards turn 1. Amazing overtaking battles here. And even when the overtake doesn't work out the first time, it's even better the second time around, Jackson.
Aaron Fritz trying to continue that momentum to the front as we've got 5 minutes on the clock. Look at everybody trying to get down to the pit wall, trying to break that draft. Everybody serpentining. But Cody and Chris trying to defend right now as Aaron leads everybody to the inside, trying to clear Andres for P7. He leads this 4-car freight train. Aaron, Chris, Andres, and Timothy. A phenomenal move there from Aaron as he launched out of turn 13, went all the way down. He goes wide though through curva 2. This will give an opportunity for Chris Lovell to try and work his way, tiptoeing around the outside. Can he carry that momentum and launch out of VIP? We're 2 wide. We've got 1 car off. Oh, that's my goodness, Gerson, our 2nd place driver, having major drama there. He's dropped back. All of a sudden, Ryan gets promoted up into P3. What on earth happened to Gerson? He's back into 10th now.
I think that was an incident all on his own. I didn't see him close enough to any other driver for an incident to be called, but of course that's something for the race stewards to have to review later on in the events channel. I'm not sure, but it didn't look like there was any chaos and calamity involving another driver, but we'll stay on board for this hectic 4-way squabble that we're watching right now. And that 4-way squabble might turn into a 3-way squabble as the tight as the pack tightens up further forward. Jacob, Cody, and Aaron awfully close to each other. Someone's going to have to jump first, leading down and towards turn one. Who is it going to be? Right now, it's Jacob leading over Cody, but Cody's on the outside line, leading us down and towards turn one in the red, white, and yellow machine, and they're going to force a 3-wide situation. Holy Toledo, Batman. Aaron from way far back tries to leapfrog his way forward. Two graffiti-colored cars side by side, the 08 and the 08 getting inverted with each other. Now it's Cody, Jacob, and Aaron. Andreas trailing behind by 1.2 seconds. The 08 almost sticks 2 wheels off into the kitty litter, but narrowly avoids disaster. Aaron still chasing down Jacob ahead. 2/10 is the gap. Kian and Ryan inverting position, started to steal it away from me, Jackson, but the 06 and the 19 are going to go wheel to wheel, tiptoeing around interior together, but Kian cannot get a switchback engaged there. He's going to have to follow in single file line for now.
Ryan Fritz, one of the faster guys we've seen in qualifying, but it'll be too little too late for him, hoping to close that gap to William Rasmussen, as Kian will have to settle for P3 for the time being. Is there enough in that murdered out 6 machine to bring his fight back to the front, or is Ryan gonna disappear into the Portuguese horizon? It's looking like it might be the case here, but you look a little bit further back, 3.6 seconds the gap now between Cody and Kian, and it seems like at this point in the race, the battle for the podium seems to be suggested. You could argue the same for Cody, as Cody Welker has really put a comfortable gap on, but you look further back, Jacob, Aaron, Andres, and others, we've still got plenty to write here before we close the book on race number 2 on week 1. Here comes Jacob with a big lunge to the inside. He's trying to clear Aaron as the 2 Insanity machines go at it on exit, banging doors, working it. Jacob will have the inside line. Is Cody gonna give him any kind of space? Not quite. Great defense from Aaron further behind, and Jacob finally going to get that position. Chris leads Andres over Andrew and Timothy G. Here comes the swing back from Aaron through VIP. Back and forth we go here in the mid-pack.
Amazing stuff. The squabbles never end. 1 minute and 15 seconds remaining, so we'll get this lap plus one more. As you said, the 2 Insanity machines are just ensuing just that insanity amongst themselves right now, and Christopher is chasing them down. No, that's Chris, excuse me, in the number 19 machine, just watching and waiting in the wings of the 2 drivers. A late braking maneuver for the 08 from behind, tried to go for an overtake, but that door was promptly slammed shut.
Back through this challenging right-hander here, testing the limits of that Armco barrier very, very hard. And Jacob finally just a little bit out of striking distance. Chris Lovell trying to join the conversation just a little bit further back now from P7. You can see how wide he runs that one blue car in this mix, going all the way over the curvings. Jacob knows he's got momentum. He goes all the way down to the pit wall to try and defend, forcing Chris to go the long way around. Now he goes middle of the track to try and defend, make it as wide as possible, but that phenomenal exit from Jacob had him all the way up ahead. But he gets pushed off by Jacob. They're banging doors once again here into Curva 2. Jacob gonna hold that position for the time being, but the spotter has not said he's clear just yet. Watch Andrew Janus further behind. He's just in this mix as well, and Andrew able to work his way up into P7. Some great moves here from Andrew Sauger, but right now it is all eyes on his real-life teammate at HRT Driver Development, because William Rasmussen is working his way out of Orella and out of Gancho for the final time. Andrew continuing to move forward, looking for a P6 finish, diving down low on Aaron. Trouble! Jacob gets spun! Chris involved as well. They're both backing up, trying to avoid it. Chaos and carnage to end off race number 2. Oh my goodness. 2 of the biggest names are dropped back, but there's a new name at the front of the World of Racing Pro Series. Race 2 belongs to William Rasmussen as the checkered flag flies here at Estoril.
What an amazing way to take your maiden victory for the Pro Series Championship. 14 seconds between yourself and P2. That'll be Ryan up next, and then Kian in third place. That'll be your standing podium. Cody in fourth place, separated by 9/10 of a second, will be Aaron. Then Andrew Janis working his way from the front of the field to the back of the field and back up to the front. Spencer in seventh place, Timothy, Michael, Robert, Chris, Jacob, Christopher, Andreas, and we have Clay rounding out 15th.
And breathe. Oh my goodness. We saw what we were expecting all night long, a defense for the lead there from William, but some hard charges to the front. Spencer ending his drive from last to seventh, second to last to P5 for Aaron Fritz. And to give you a Mikeism there, P5, he was hoping for more, but that is absolutely nothing to shake your stick at, and that will definitely be our championship points leader come the end of the night. But William Rasmussen getting the lead there for race 2, Ryan Fritz coming home in P2. How about Kian Balbus, who was really one of the golden ticket winners, starting on the second row and holding that top 5 position, defending from Cody Welker and Aaron Fritz to get that podium position. A phenomenal drive from him in the 6th. Looking further back, Andrew Janis has already mentioned Spencer Kempton. Then you look over to Timothy, Michael, and Robert Robles rounding out your top 10 in a Hollywood second race here.
Absolutely phenomenal. All I have to say about that, Jackson, is this is the best job I've ever had. To love racing so much, to see drivers perform in such phenomenal rigs and then perform at such a phenomenal level as well. The action was from green to checkered flag, from lap after lap. There was always something to watch, to keep our eyes on. There was nothing that we could have anticipated that actually happened other than some of the overtakes happening at turn 1. There were overtakes at turn 3. There were overtakes through turn 5 and then through 6 coming out of the final corner, Curva Parabolica. It was everywhere we looked, especially in this reverse grid race. The action was phenomenal. Let's head back over to the booth as we get ready to close things out, folks. Stand by.
Back in here at the World of Racing Broadcast Center again, Jackson Lambros and Sagar Bakshi starting to wind this opening week down. And you did a phenomenal job of putting this into words. But you look at individual performances here, Sagar. What are we liking here as we're starting to really set the tone of who's fast and who might be an underdog here for the Pro Series?
I think one of the things I really love the most is the race series setup. Seeing 2 20-minute sprint races with a reverse grid compound set up as well. Super interesting, unique format, real world money being on the line as well. Makes the drivers put in hours and hours of practice in their qualifying heats. But that doesn't tell the whole story. It comes down to racecraft for heat number 2, and it gives drivers at the back of the pack something to still fight for week after week. I just love that we're going to see a different combination coming up next week as well. And that will be announced on next Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So the drivers won't know what's coming at them until it's too late, basically, at the driver's briefing. And I am so excited for what's next. It is going to be a true test of wheel-to-wheel racing next week. And that's all I can spoil for now.
And again, we'll be doing that next week, and that is the beauty of it. We don't know what we're going to get until race day. What we do know we're going to get is this Sunday, the Ferrari 296 GT3 for 2.4 hours of action. That'll be coming your way with the green flag coming at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. And that will be some phenomenal racing. You can visit worldofracing.com for any other information on that. Couple of days off, and then we'll be right back here, same time, same place next Thursday night for, well, we don't really know what we're driving and where we're driving yet, but if it's even a fraction of the product we had on track today, it is going to be absolutely worth your time to come and give it a view. Thanks so much for watching, though. We're going to start to put a bookend in our first week of action here for the Pro Series. We hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed calling it here from the booth. But for everyone at AK Esports UK, for Sigma Integrated Motion Systems, and for the World of Racing, He's Sagar Bakshi. I'm Jackson Lambros. We'll see you next time here from the world of racing.